My video today is to talk to you about Finfluencers, financial influencers, and more specifically, the absolutely nuclear move that ASIC has just made, demanding that financial influencers are essentially going to need to be licensed and properly regulated with the correct education standards if they are going to be able to provide recommendations to their followers moving forward. Hey everyone, James O'Reilly here, Director and Financial Advisor at Northeast Wealth. Let's firstly consider the financial influencers situation as a whole. And of course, these are influencers on social media. They're using their following to promote financial products and financial investments. And the problem is that the way that they do this up until very recently was unregulated. And so we could have a financial advisor standing here and a financial influencer standing here. And as an advisor, if I wanted to recommend a particular share or a particular exchange traded fund or product, I would need to go through essentially what are some really, really rigorous and over the top, in my eyes, hoops in order to provide that advice. ASIC's concern for some time has been that there are financial influencers that are essentially spruiking products to their client or to their followers via paid promotions. ASIC's position is, well, if these are paid promotions, you're clearly seeking to influence your followers to buy or engage with these products. And if that is the case, then that, in our eyes, is financial advice. That makes sense to me. It has all the hallmarks of financial advice, so it should be considered financial advice. And then ASIC's view is, well, if that is financial advice, and we believe that it is, then you need to go and get licensed the same way a financial advisor would. And that means at least an undergrad in finance. It means having the appropriate levels of ongoing training. It means ensuring that you complete the financial advisor exam so that you can demonstrate that you're suitably trained and qualified to be able to give that advice to Australians. And it also means, importantly, getting some professional indemnity insurance as part of your license. And that's a really big one for consumers in particular. Right now, the consumer bears all of the risk when it comes to a Finfluencer recommendation. The Finfluencer completes the paid promotion and they get paid regardless. And then when the investor or when the consumer invests, if that turns out to be a horrible recommendation and it goes belly up, the Finfluencer says, well, look, I wash my hands of this because at the beginning of that video, I said, this is general advice and do your own research. So that's not a good outcome for consumers, of course. Now, ASIC stepping in here, they've said, hang on, no, that is financial advice. You can't just absolve yourself of that responsibility by putting in that disclaimer at the beginning. If it looks like advice and it smells like advice, it is advice. So the benefit at a consumer level would be that if financial influencers do become financial advisors or they're required to become licensed, they also need to have professional indemnity insurance to protect against that rare scenario where sometimes something may go wrong. And if something did go wrong, then there is that recourse for a consumer and they can be financially remediated for their loss. So up until this point, you might say, yeah, this sounds good. It's going to protect consumer interests. It makes sense that anyone who says, hey, I think this product is good should be reasonably trained and qualified and suited to be able to say that. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is that if we think about the landscape of financial advice right now, the landscape's broken. And I say that because the cost to serve clients in 2022 is now at some point so prohibitive. Over the last decade, in my own experience as a financial advisor, I've watched the administrative requirements and the paperwork and the red tape just go up and up and up and up and up, and it just has no sign of slowing. And ironically, most of this is being driven by ASIC and the thinking is all that paperwork and red tape is designed to protect consumers and to stop them from being, and to avoid them getting poor advice. And it's certainly true that it does that to an extent, but the unintended consequence of all of that red tape is that the costs to deliver advice to an everyday Australian have absolutely skyrocketed. There's plenty of studies that have in 2022 that are saying that the median cost to deliver advice to Australians is well over $5,000, and that's ridiculous. Advice shouldn't be like that. In many respects, you could put an argument forward to say that they are the people that perhaps need the advice much more so than the people with multiple $100,000 a year incomes, significant investment portfolios, and so on. So obviously there's something broken. these people shouldn't be getting turned away, but they are because of the landscape of financial advice today. And so if they are going to get turned away from financial advisory practices, where do they turn? As Australians are entitled, and they should be getting better educated with their finances, and financial literacy should be getting better. And people are entitled to find the education and the content that's going to help them to make better financial decisions. And if that's not coming through at an advisory level, and it's certainly not coming through at an education level, as in, in terms of schools, and for example, where do they get this? And this is where Finfluencers have come in, and in my personal opinion, have actually done a wonderful task of providing a huge amount of education and value to their followers. This is creating a huge problem for consumers, and perhaps you could argue it's creating a huge problem for the consumers that need it the most. These are young Australians who are looking to improve their financial literacy, make less financial mistakes, and they're people that deserve to be able to be educated. Our current education system does absolutely nothing when it comes to improving Australians' financial literacy. It's an enormous bugbear of mine. And so there are these financial influencers out there, in my eyes, actually doing really, really good work by educating Australians and getting them engaged with their finances. And so you do have to tread with some caution in terms of pulling the pin from these influencers, because if they move out of this game, who's going to serve these young Australians? Who's going to be able to support them? There was a study done by ASIC only last week that said that 64% of young people have changed an element of their financial behavior because of content that they'd absorbed from a Finfluencer. And I thought to myself, that's pretty incredible. 2/3 of young Australians have had some real benefit from having content from a financial influencer. And so, in my eyes, I think that it's until such a time as financial advisors can confidently say, yeah, we're able to serve these people. And of course, obviously, that's going to require a huge amount of regulatory change. Until that time, in my eyes, I think that completely removing or jamming up influencers from doing what they do is actually going to create more problems. And so again, I think some trepidation needs to be provided here from ASIC's viewpoint to say, well, yes, it's true on paper, in theory. If anyone wants to get financial advice, they should go to the fully qualified financial advisor with the experience and the know-how to say this is definitely the right play for you. But cost needs to be contextualized here too. And we need to be able to provide solutions for Australians that don't cost $5,000, for instance. We need to be able to provide solutions that are going to be much more cost effective. And up until now, that influencer channel has been a very, very good way of solving that problem. That's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this rundown. I'd be really keen to know what your thoughts are. It's a really rich topic. If you've got any observations, or if you're someone who's really impassioned about this, then please throw a comment down. I'd love to see what you think. Thanks, everyone.